Hi, Simon. First, I'm going to plug, I think this book would be really, really good for you to have. The Time Paradox. I mentioned this before. Philip Zimbardo and John Boyd, and this is the Psychology of Time. This is a good book, and it's very readable. It's quite an accessible book. To further develop what you're talking about, we're talking about here, one of my major problems that I've encountered, and it's very frustrating for me in communication, is the failure to adequately and with adequate specificity pre-frame or pre-orient the listener to the discussion and cover several orienting points. For example, what will this discussion be about? And that might be a really, really good time to start introducing a few metaphors that help position the subject in one's mind. Often I find subjects just being kind of set out, it's kind of like they're being poured out of a bag or a box onto a tabletop, and just a number of parts and kind of semi-related ideas and examples, concepts that just kind of lay there, and the speaker goes through them without really giving some kind of sense of how they fit together or what the structure is. What is the architecture? How do all these pieces snap together and form a building? Or what is it that they're trying to create with this thing? Which would include what are their goals? What are they trying to bring about? And can they explain their goals in multiple ways? How does this affect or interact with me, the listener? What is my relationship to this goal? Where does this goal originate from? How was it conceptualized? Who put it together? What are they conceiving as the path from their originating ideas, and why was it necessary to what they hope to accomplish by implementing it, and what will be the barriers to implementation that they anticipate? And who are the stakeholders? Who are the different component stakeholders that may have very different positions? Like a union, maybe one stakeholder, and they may have one position. A government agency may be another stakeholder, and they've got another position. Entrepreneur may be another stakeholder with a different position, and so on and so forth. And very frequently, none of these things are adequately set out in an organized way. So you just end up with this story or this kind of project description that just drops in your lap, and you just don't know what is expected of me, the listener, in relationship to this project map, or what they hope my response to this will be. Nor is there any real elicitation of what my prior understanding or my expectations might be of the thing, or what my needs may be in relationship to this. All of these things need a tremendous amount of clarification. And by way of example, when I deal with attorneys, or I don't know if these would be over there in the UK, solicitors or barristers, I've always found that it is so valuable to adequately prepare some very, very simple map that I can put on their desk and they can look down and refer to while they're talking to me. And my preferred way of doing this is to create an illustrative timeline, which is, say, laid out in years, like, say, elements of this case or problem, say maybe started in 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008. So I will just draw a temporal line that shows the time that the issue began, and then where we are in the present, and then have, say, separate timelines for different stakeholders or different positions or different perceptions of that problem. Okay, this is what I was doing with my life. That will be a timeline. This is what this other party was doing. This is how the project was developing. And so the counselor can look down and see at any point in the discussion, can immediately look down on his desk or her desk at this thing, and I may take, say, a couple of large sheets of paper, like maybe 11 by 14, and actually tape them. So it's kind of like a scroll they can lay out as a long horizontal, kind of like a panoramic portrait. I guess that's a really good metaphor, a description, a panorama, like a panoramic photo of the whole thing from start to finish, and my understanding from every possible perceptual position that I think is matters and is significant. So you imagine just a panorama of the problem or the case or the story from this kind of Kurosawa's Rashomon, different points of view, and then as the discussion, which usually becomes then very efficient and clear with the attorney proceeds, we can just say, oh yeah, okay, in 2005, this is where this person was on their track, this is where this business was on their track, this is where this legal process was on its track, and we can just jump from point to point as needed instead of an enormous amount of redundant, excess, and often confusing explanation, which then the attorney is trying to create this sorted out structure in his or her mind. Why waste all that computing power having them try to continuously reconstruct this panorama? Why not just create the panorama and let them put it down there? And I have found I've been able to take what might have been 2 or 3 hour conferences and bring them down to about 15 minutes. I mean, just imagine the cost and effort and pain in the ass savings of taking a 3 hour conference and being able to efficiently reduce it to a very clear 15-minute consultation. So go for it, man.